everybody, family and friends. Welcome to my kitchen. Sandy here. Today we are going to do a classic from my recipe box. Thanksgiving will be here in a few weeks and it's time to make the cranberry sauce. My version of cranberry sauce is great and easy to put together. It tastes good and it is really diverse. So if there's any left after Thanksgiving, I'll give you some tips and ideas on how to use leftover cranberry sauce, things that I do year to year. So let's get started. I have the recipe card here from my box, and let's start with the ingredients. Of course, you're gonna need fresh cranberries. So just a regular 12-ounce bag of cranberries will do. You can find them in any supermarket, and you rinse them and pick through them by hand to make sure that all of your cranberries are clean of any grasses and things like that that might be in the bag from harvesting. And also make sure they're nice and firm. Any ones that are, not firm, that are a little bit soft to the touch, you can throw those out. But a 12-ounce bag is what we need. We need a cup of freshly squeezed orange juice. So on the recipe, it calls for the juice of one large orange. I think I said orange juice. Sometimes I think a little bit more. So you might need to do 2 oranges, depending on the size of your orange. And before you juice this, and you can use store-bought orange juice, but fresh is always best. And then I love the pulp, the flavor that the pulp gives the cranberry sauce. But you will be zesting 1 large orange, and that's going to go into the cranberry sauce after it cooks and it starts to cool down a little bit, so you retain the most flavor of that orange zest. So the recipe calls for zest of a large orange. Again, if you use more than one and you want to zest a little bit more, it will not hurt. It's just going to make it that much more flavorful. So you can put more orange zest if you wanted to. We need 1/2 cup of white sugar and 1/2 cup of, I use the Domino granulated sugar. I've showed you that before. It's very dry. It's not wet at all. And it gives this particular recipe the ability to melt really easily. And that's what we need. So try to use that if you can get it. If not, of course, you can use regular brown sugar. Light brown sugar is what I use. I would not use a dark brown sugar for this. And then we have our spices. So we have a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, allspice, ground allspice. All these spices are ground. Cloves and cinnamon. And that's basically all the ingredients that we need. So get yourself a nice pot, something that's gonna cook evenly. Medium pot like that is good. And you're gonna put all the ingredients in that pot except for the cranberries and the orange zest. So we'll get started and we'll just put the orange juice in there first. We get the liquid in the bottom of the pot. Then we will put in our sugars, right? And then we'll put in all our spices. I love my little spice jars. So we'll put them all in there. 4 spices. Okay. We're gonna stir that, get all those ingredients combined together, and we're gonna bring that mixture to a boil. And once that comes up to a boil, then we're going to add our cranberries. All the cranberries go in the pot, and we're gonna bring that, lower the heat, bring that to a simmer, and let those cranberries cook in that liquid and the spices and the sugars until the cranberries start to pop. You can do that with the lid off of the pot and give it a stir along the way, and make sure that you're watching it. And make sure that your pot is also deep enough so when those cranberries start to pop, and they do, That's what you want them to do. They don't come up and splatter you, so don't let your pot be too shallow. So these cranberries are going to be in there. They're going to start to cook. They're going to explode. They're going to give up all their juices. And once they've had a chance to do that, right, and you're mixing it along the way, then you'll turn that off, let it sit for a bit. It'll start to thicken up naturally, and then we'll come back and add the zest, and then we'll let it cool off and we'll jar it up and you'll have cranberry sauce. So let's let this come up to a boil. I'll show you what this looks like along the way once I add the cranberries and they start to do their thing, and then I'll show you the finished product once it's been on the stove. It should be on the stove. The recipe says to let it go on the stove for 10 to 15 minutes. Once it comes up to 10, it starts to simmer. So I'll see you in 10 to 15 minutes. Here's a look at our liquid ingredients in the pot. You can see they're just starting to come up to temp and starting to bubble away a little bit there. This is our orange juice, our sugars, and our spices. And now that our liquids are at a simmer, we're going to add our 12 ounces of fresh cranberries. Look at the color. This cranberry sauce is going to be a beautiful color once we're done. So we'll put them in there. You'll see they're floating a little bit. And we'll let them all come up to a simmer. Okay, I have to correct myself at this point. I said earlier that you could cook these with no lid. That's not right. We need a lid as these cranberries are simmering away in the pot to keep all those juices in and come up with a really good moist cranberry sauce. So as you can see, we've got the berries nicely simmering away in the pot, and we're going to let them stay in there until they pop and give up their juices, and that should take about 10 to 15 minutes. All right, it's been about 5 minutes, and you can see already that this mixture has gotten a lot thicker and darker in color. So you should go in and stir every few minutes throughout the cooking process. And you can see that these berries have started to get real loose, and you see that. You can help them along and make sure that they're opening up by pushing them against the side of the pot. Okay, because you want this cranberry sauce to have some substance. You don't want it to be pureed. We're not going to puree it, but you do want as many of them to pop open and emit their juices as possible. So we're just going to keep going with this until all of them get to that stage. All right, the cooking process for our cranberry sauce is pretty much complete. So you can see now it's really looking like a jammy consistency, very thick. All those berries have given up their goodness, and it is time to shut this off, and we're going to let it sit and cool and come back and add our orange zest. We are going to let that cranberry sauce cool off heat with a lid, partially tipped to keep the moisture in the pot, and we'll let it sit there for about an hour, and then we'll come back and add the zest. All right, it's been a few hours, and our cranberry sauce is nice and cool and gelatinous and thick. I added the orange zest here, and we're just going to mix that in. And let that permeate through the whole batch. Give it a good mix. I'm going to finish mixing this and get it in a jar. And we will then pop that in the fridge and have ourselves some cranberry sauce. Our finished cranberry sauce in the jar and ready to put in the fridge where it'll firm up and get that nice jelly-like consistency that we like for cranberry sauce, and it's all ready to go for Thanksgiving turkey. So after Thanksgiving is over, if you have any left, like I said, you can definitely use it in muffins. to add flavor to muffins instead of fruit. You can also use it with pork. It's really great on pork. It's great in pulled pork. I do a pulled pork recipe where I use it as a base for a sauce, and that's always delicious as well. I'm sure there are many other things you can probably think to do with this if you're not going to eat it straight out of the jar with your favorite cracker. So from my recipe box to yours, Sandy's cranberry sauce. And I hope you're all doing well. Take care and enjoy your holiday season.